we took pride in doing the job and doing the job right, and making sure that we, in fact, represented the citizens of Travis County. And if you do that, being in the government affords you some opportunities, being a government lawyer, because honestly, that's all I've done. I've worked for the AG's office, I've worked for the county attorney's office, and now I'm the judge of County Court of Law No. 2 here in Travis County. And I've worked for the government the entire time. So my view of government is not quite the same as everybody else's. I really think we can help. I really think there are things that we can do. I will be the first to admit that there is a bureaucracy, and there's a way, and we sometimes can get in our own way and shoot ourselves in the foot. But if given a chance, we actually can do that. And so I think leadership in government is important, because I think what government should do and what they should be allowed to do is to solve problems, whether you're in the county attorney's office or whether you're just the human resources director. All of those things can be utilized to make sure that the citizens of Travis County get what they deserve. And that's one of the reasons I love the job at the county attorney's office. It was great. I had a lot of trial experience, and so I got to try cases. I got to bring people along. One of the things, my leadership style was to give people a lot of opportunities. I've been president of Leadership Austin. In fact, I'm the immediate past president of Leadership Austin. I had been the president of the Austin Habitat for Humanity. I was that president for 2 years. In fact, the current ED. I was on the council that selected. I was on the search committee that selected the current ED for Habitat for Humanity. I was on the search committee that elected or picked the current leader for Leadership Austin. I served as the president of both those boards and the president of the Central Texas Red Cross for about 2 years on each of them. At one point, I was the president of Leadership Austin Board, the president of the Central Texas Red Cross Board, and for about a month or two, president of the Habitat for Humanity Board, all at the same time. And part of that reason was because I really believed that you couldn't be a leader in government if you weren't out in the community trying to help and trying to do some things that allowed you to get to know what the community was like. And each one of those organizations did different things. You know, the Red Cross does a number of things in terms of responding to fires, responding to hurricanes. You always see Red Cross, particularly at times when there are hurricanes or there's a big to-do somewhere. But did you know that Red Cross, in fact, responds to every fire in Travis County? And last year, I think there was over 100 fires. Imagine that. There's somebody who goes out, no matter when the fire happens, at about 3 o'clock in the morning, they're going out. And we as a board member, we're having to make that happen. And so I really enjoyed that. Habitat for Humanity was always great because it was always a tangible project at the end of the day. Now, my first job, even though I was on the board president, that did not qualify me, however, to help build a house. And they reminded me of that when they said, well, what do you know how to do? And I was kind of going through this, and it wasn't much. And so my first job on a Habitat for Humanity house was to, and I didn't even know this existed when I got there. You know, if you have wire fencing around in the backyard, there's a wire that runs along the bottom of that actually helps keep the fence in place and keeps from going out. That was my job. I had to string the wire all the way around the whole fence. I was like, dude, I'm the board president. Like, yeah, can you nail? Can you paint? Good. Then go over here and string this wire. And so, but it was a lot of fun, and it gave me an opportunity to get to know people in the community. And so, my version of leadership is, in some degrees, influenced by the fact that I am a preacher's student, and to some degree, or to a large part, that means to me servant leadership. What can I do? My job, my role as leader or position of authority gives me the opportunity to serve you, the public. That's a lofty position, actually. I'm in a position to do those sorts of things. And so leadership in that way means, I think, a lot to me, because I think to me it means, you'll hear this term a lot, servant leadership. And it means I get the opportunity to figure out, what do my clients need, what do my constituents need, how can I help them achieve their goals. One of the things, one of the questions up here says, how does leadership play a role in your job, and how does leadership play a role in the government process? one of the things that I always wanted to do when I was the division chief and was leading a team of lawyers was I always tried to give them as much responsibility as possible. Now, I was told by my bosses on more than one occasion if I wanted to try the whole lawsuit, I could. But more often than not, if you were working with me, you got significant responsibilities when you were in the courtroom. You had to cross-examine witnesses. I would turn over witnesses that were critical to our case because in my way of thinking, my job was to train the next set of people so well that if and when I did leave, that there wasn't going to be a glitch. I didn't feel I was doing my job as a leader in the role of government if I didn't have a set of people who could take my place. In other words, if I wasn't training the people below me to be able to do my job well enough, it just made my life easier. The decisions I got to make were decisions I got to make because of my position and because I was the person delegated to make those decisions by my bosses. But it wasn't because the people who I was working with or who worked for me didn't know how to make those decisions. They were coming to me with recommendations. They had things they wanted to say and ways that I thought they would go. And my job is simply to guide that. That's what I think real leadership is. If you're not listening to the voices in the room, if you're not hearing the voices in the room with regard to what they bring to the table, then you're missing part of your solution to the problem. Because you'll never know whether or not the one idea you need was the voice that never said anything, or the voice that never got to say anything, or the voice that didn't quite speak up or didn't finish the thought. Leadership in government means listening to as many people as possible and then crafting a solution. And so when it talks about how does leadership play a role in the government process, more often than not, it's listening and hearing and then making a decision based on all the things you've heard. Now, a lot of times if you bring stuff to the table, if you do bring the kinds of things to the table, you have a skill set of being able to do certain things. But everybody has a skill set. And so listening and hearing and doing those things makes a lot of difference in the role of government. If government listens and hears and then responds, then whatever your position in government, it's going to make a big difference. I am on the team of people now who are trying to get a new courthouse for Travis County. The courthouse we have in Travis County is about 80 years old. It was built back in 1931. Even back in 1931, it cost $750,000, not an insignificant sum. If you note, the year was 1931. That was only 2 years after the Great Depression. So this courthouse was being built as a stimulus project, essentially. True to the consternation of the times, and the more things changed, the more they remained the same. Everybody who voted, every commissioner who voted for the courthouse, lost their job in the next election. But to me, that was in fact an exercise in leadership. They knew that they needed a new courthouse. They knew they needed a place where they could house all the centers of government. This courthouse not only had 2 courtrooms in it, but it housed all of county government on 5 floors. It housed the clerk, the constables, the JPs. All of county government was in this one building that is now at 11th and Malacca, 11th and Guadalupe, here in Travis County. And in fact, most of the furniture that was built for the 1931 courthouse, a lot of it is still being used today. In fact, about 65 to 70% of the benches and kind of pew-like things that we sit on are all being used today here in Travis County. They did a good job of building the courthouse, and they built it despite the fact that they were getting huge amounts of pushback. And that's something that leadership often does. Sometimes when you're the leader, you're just going to have to take the hit. And in their case, they got unelected. I mean, it's a huge hit they have to take. But it was the right thing for the county. And it was the right thing for them to do. And, and so we're trying to get a courthouse built. I'm really hoping it doesn't get me unelected, but, it's the right thing to do. Because we need to be able to put, again, all of these people in one place. We got the privilege of going to see other courthouses and what they do. And there's this really great daycare center in one of the courthouses we visited. It held up to 20 children. It had this kind of rubberized playscape area that all the kids could go play in, and it was open to jurors. So if you had to sit on a jury any particular day, and you didn't have a way to get daycare, you could bring your child, check them into the daycare at the courthouse. They would be taken care of. It was all up to snuff and all up to code, and they would be taken care of while you sat on the jury. Now, that sounds like a really fun, good thing for the mom or dad who has to have the child, but it also helped us because we needed jurors, and we need jurors to come in, and we wanted to remove some of those excuses. So we said, okay, we'll take care of your kid. And so we got a chance to look at some of those things. And so having, being a leader in government means you look at a lot of different things, you consider a lot of different things, you talk through the issues, and then try and do it. Sometimes it means you have to, if you know you have a vision that's better, or the kind of vision that you really think makes a difference, don't forget they actually hired you to do this job. And so that's one of the things you have to do. As a judge, I daily actually have to sit there and listen to people talk to me about why we should do certain things. And my role and responsibility is to try and get them to listen to each other and then come out with the best decision. I have often said to people that as a judge, I am really a cop on the road to juryville. And what that means is my job is to get everybody safely to in front of a jury where they can try their case and then let them go from there. But there are, in Austin, if you haven't noticed, there are a lot of people, we have a lot of meetings on a lot of different things. And so your leadership in Austin has to kind of match what Austin does. And Leadership Austin has kind of 4 core principles that it talks about. Community trusteeship, inclusiveness, collaborative, and personal responsibility. Those are the 4 core issues that Austin leaders talk about when they talk about doing things and getting things done in Austin. One of the most important portions of that is collaboration and community inclusiveness. Being a leader at any time is going to boil down to, more often than not, it's going to boil down to, I'm reaching for a story here. It's going to boil down to being able to communicate. Now, one of my favorite quotes of all time is the quote by George Bernard Shaw. And it says, the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it occurred. And I was looking the other day for a story that helped communicate that point. Now, listen to it one more time because it's a little hard sometimes to catch. The biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it has taken place. All right? And I think this story helps illustrate that point. I was actually out at my parents' house last night checking on them, and my mom gave me this, so this is a full joke. All right, we're down in LaForge Parish, Louisiana, and Boudreaux gets a job with BP, helping with the cleanup. He reports for work and is told to speak to a supervisor about his assignment. He finds the man and asks what is it I'm supposed to do? And the supervisor tells him this. The supervisor tells him to go to the animal shelter and clean the pelicans, okay? 2 hours later, Boudreaux comes back and he says to the supervisor, okay, they're all clean, do you want me to cook some rice with that? Okay. See,